Alright, good morning. So hopefully you can hear me. And hopefully you didn't turn up your volume because there was no sound just then and now I'm too loud. Actually on that point, if you let me know if I am too loud or too quiet, I can adjust because it's really hard to tell. Alright, so this morning I'm working on BurntToast. Hopefully by the end of today's stream we'll be pushing a new release. So that will be fun. So what I'm working on specifically is exposing the ability to put events on your toast notifications. A little bit easier than how it works at the moment. Did I put... No. So I will quickly show how it works at the moment. So the simplest way to use BurntToast is to use the new BurntToast notification function. And that command has a lot of parameter sets, it has a lot of parameters, it's kind of busy. So I'm kind of choosy about what new parameters I expose via that function. So if you're ever using BurntToast and you find there's not something you can do via this, it means you've got to dive into these advanced functions. So all of this here is creating a toast by building up its component pieces. Normally, what you would then do is, if I could type, then go and submit that notification using the submit BT notification function. When we're working with events, at the moment, that's no good, because what we need to do is work through a bit and get a toast object, which we can then register an event against. Now, as I mentioned in the last stream, this only works on PowerShell 7.1. This registering of object events, which means when we expose it, however we decide to expose it, we need it only available on 7.1 and above. And I think I've got a plan for how that's going to work. And just because I want to test, I've got a little green screen area on my other screen for toasts, and they should get blown up on stream. So I want to test that a bit. Oh, and by the way, that then is the code for actually displaying your toast notification. Just to follow that all the way through. So this example for events, if I go and run it, we get a nice toast notification with a selection box. We can pick in that selection box a predefined GIF that's coming from these selection item boxes, and then based on that we generate a second second toast. So if I submit that, we get another one back with the GIF. Trevor, I don't know if WebM is supported. That would have been handy for me to know a while ago when I was looking for GIFs, because a bunch of them were coming down as WebM files. But it's worth a try. You can definitely use transparent GIFs. But would need to try WebM, yeah. If you've got a link to one, we can try it on stream. You might just need to DM me or something, because I don't know that links will survive YouTube. So anyway, that's the gist of what we need to do. Effectively, I need to bury the register object event against the toast object within the, at a minimum, in the submit BT notification function, and potentially also on the new BurntToast notification function as well. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I'll do is just get it working, and then worry about making it only work on 7.1 once that's done. So it's public function and submit BT notification. Cool. It was. So if you're stuck on 7.1, unfortunately, that means no actionable toasts. Well, no actionable toasts as far as you can't run arbitrary events using those registered events. You can use custom protocol handlers, which, if you look up Adam Driscoll's Module Monday video on BurntToast, he shows a demo of getting that working. But effectively, you can call it's not as seamless, and there's a bit of extra setup behind the scenes, but you can then call a specific tag and run a PS1 file. Activated action. So there's three types of events. I keep saying two because one of them I'm never going to use. There's activated and dismissed, and then there's failed. But I've never actually had a failed action. I've never managed to force one. So I sort of forget that it's there because it's, not all that useful to me. And just to be clear, clicking on it anywhere, even if there's no button, counts as activation, which this activated action should fire. Dismissed is specifically clicking that little... Actually, I'm not sure if clicking the go to The Go to Action Center button counts as a dismiss. We should test that. I'm going to make a note. Alright, stop getting distracted. So we've got our script blocks there, and we end up creating a toast notification, or a toast object. And a little bit down here, right before we actually submit it. This is why my release cadence for BurntToast is so slow, because I keep finding things and experimenting and never actually getting to the bottom of them. Register object event that is, the object is our toast. The event name is activated, and then we've got our action, which is that for now. So when you run that, it does output some crap that I don't want. Normally I would assign to null, but PowerShell 7 sped out null up dramatically. So I'm going to start doing that for the PowerShell 7 specific stuff. That'll work. And then of course we only want to register that event if we've got that script blocked. Ooh, it just goes off screen. So then we've got 3 of those, one for dismissed. In fact, just double checking those events. Event, yeah, activated, dismissed, and failed. Good. And I haven't misspelt dismissed. Right, so that's dismissed, and then failed action. Failed. So in theory, that should work. So if we take the previous example, we should be able to simplify things a bit. And just looking at it again, I wasn't sure why I'd done some certain things in it. For instance, I don't know why I needed all of that crap down there. So instead of calling register object event now, we can call this our activated script. We don't need that. We don't need any of that, and we don't need that. Content is content, and activated, what did I call it? Memory like a sieve this time in the morning, activated action. Right, so in theory, this much shorter script should have the same effect once I've imported the new module. Let's double check that. Cool. So I've got my actions, script blocks, good. Run this. Oh, dear. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Fail. So where did we fail? And also get rid of my note to self up the top. So why did that fail? Just to rule it out being something stupid. What the heck is it called? Help me out. I'm trying to reset the current session. Restart the current session. And I'm not seeing reload. No. Huh. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Alright, let's import this version of the module and run this again. Just double check activated script. Activated script. Yep. That all looks good. Activated action. Activated action on activated against toast. Yeah, that should all work. Should. Something in there's not happy. Okay. I'll try it in another console just before I start diving into troubleshooting that, just to make sure I'm not chasing ghosts. Yeah. Paste anyway. Alright, so at least I know I did do something silly. So, let's try something as simple as that. Just make sure we're actually seeing the file come through, the script come through. Definitely a script block, definitely getting output, not getting output there. Oh dear. If I'm... oh man. So I was getting the output I was looking for, it just wasn't coloured differently, so I didn't notice it. Awesome. So we know it's at least getting there. Alright. Let's get rid of that. So now it's working now. You. Yeah, so for whatever reason, it's not getting into that script block. Or at least not making it to the end of it. It's registering the event. Oh. The command on that event is the variable name, which then won't be available within the event itself. Yeah, that makes some sense. It's annoying, but it makes some sense. Oh. All of that because I put some curly braces, or rather didn't take out the curly braces. I think I need some more of this. So that's up there with my demo from serverless days last week, where I bombed a demo because I forgot to put the $sign at the start of a variable. Oh, well. Although I probably shouldn't celebrate yet. I don't actually know that it's working. Submit. Look at that. And if you've ever wondered, that's the XML behind a toast. So that means I should be able to test that dismiss thing now. So I'll just simply write a warning for this one. Dismissed action is cool. So obviously if I click the dismiss button, I've just found a problem with my with my demo code there. Whew. Make a note of that one. Let's get rid of that. Interesting. Why? So why is that dismiss button not working? Or rather, what I should say is, why is that dismiss button acting as if the toast was activated? So this element here is the dismiss button. And that should be right. Alright, rather than getting hung up on that, let's try clicking that button that I actually wanted to test. So that did dismiss. Good. Cool. So, well, that's good. That's tested both that the activated and the dismissed actions are working. I do need to write some help for it, but I'm going to save that for my own time. Because the next version of BurntToast is going to be a bit boring. It's just going to be a documentation push, effectively. Right, so we've got that on that. Now on BurntToast notification. I do want to expose 2 of those on here. This being the super simple function that is sort of the gateway in. Not that one. That one. Yeah, I'll keep the names the same. Alright, so those come into play in here. All the way down there. And to save a little bit of typing, I will grab these. Beautiful. And the same for the dismissed one. So I'm not exposing the failed one, the failed action through a new BurntToast notification. That's explicitly because I want to keep this function as simple, and I almost choke on those words saying that for this function, but as simple as possible. And because I've not managed to have a toast fail on me yet, I don't really want to expose that via the basic function. But then, of course, it's on the more advanced function, so if you do need it, it's available. Alright, so we should probably test that. We can keep that one nice and simple. Let's do activated. What was it? Activated, action, activated. So now to test events, all we've got to do is run those two lines. Click it, and of course I didn't update the display text, but our event fired. Sweet. So that means it's now really easy to get or to register those events without having to dive into all of this. But now if we tried doing that in Windows PowerShell, Windows, alright, I'll do it the long way. Right, so if we tried doing this in Windows PowerShell, or even PowerShell 7.0 or 6 or whatever, we get Windows PowerShell cannot subscribe to WinRT events. So that error message has been the bane of my existence for about 4 years. But you also get that in PowerShell 6. PowerShell 7, not in PowerShell 7.1 though, which is cool. So I've got two options as far as avoiding this in I've got two options as far as avoiding this problem, and I'm interested to hear some feedback. I could always have the parameter available, but then warn before trying to register that event that it's not going to work, and then not register it, but then still show the toast just without the event. So that's option number one. Option number two is I could use private functions via aliases that are... So one alias that points to two different private functions based on whether you're on a supported version or not. The benefit of the second option is that you only see the parameters if you're able to use them. The benefit of the first option is that you're able to develop code for any platform anywhere. So say, for whatever reason, you're working on a Windows PowerShell 5.1 only machine, but you're going to end up running your script on a machine in PowerShell 7.1 on another machine. Having the parameter there allows you to use the IntelliSense and all that to write that script, and then run it successfully on the other end. I have a opinion there, but in case anybody is nearby that wants to weigh in on that, I'll finish my coffee while we wait. Okay. So I'm going to explore anyway the alias route. I'm worried about how messy it might end up being. Actually, how about this for a compromise? We go the alias route for new BurntToast notification, making it as simple of an experience there for those that only want to use the simple functions. And we go the warn but continue route without registering via the advanced functions. That way, if you are developing for another system somehow, that option's still open to you, just via the advanced functions. I like that. I was going to go... My original plan was to go the alias route the whole way down, but I like that middle ground now that I've thought through it a bit. So, I need to know whether or not toasts are, actions are supported. And this is where a ternary would be awesome, but it still needs to work on PowerShell 5. So 5.1. So it's very early. So we've got our PowerShell version, and we need to know if it's greater than or equal to 7.1.0. That's strictly not true, because it's technically only preview 4 and above that it started working, but GA won't have that pre-release tag, so it's not gonna affect many people. And in fact, I don't need the if statement because that's going to output true or false anyway. There we go. Okay, is it possible? So how does one do their own pre-release label on a version object? Sorry, now we're going on another tangent. Okay, let's go with the light theme. Cool. So I've got a version object, all right? So then what the heck is this? Oh, hell. Alright, maybe we do need a dark one. Oh. Yeah, that'd do it, wouldn't it? System version. Semantic version. Is that available? Jeez, my colours are off everywhere. I can't imagine that looks good on stream at all. That's going to be a pain. Is it going to be a pain? What I might have to do is test to see if that semantic version is available. And I'm going to assume that on 7.0 it's available. Do I have in my... Sorry, I'm just checking to see... if any of my tests are specifically running against PowerShell 6. Alright, let's not get distracted by that. If anyone happens to have PowerShell 6 installed somewhere, would you mind checking? Actually, no, it does not matter at all. There was about to be another rabbit hole. So, what I want is what? Come on. Now, just because I've never used the semantic version object, just double checking. Cool. And of course that makes sense. I was just checking that without the release preview tag, or the pre-release tag, is low. Sorry, the release preview tag does make it a lower version than no release preview tag. And logically that makes sense. I just needed to confirm that. Got that, and then this. Get over there. So the PowerShell version table needs to be greater than or equal to. Yeah, this is going to be ugly. Preview 4. Right, so that's going to output true or false again, isn't it? Just as is. And that holds true there. Good, that's lower than PowerShell 7.1. This should return true. Good, and of course Windows PowerShell shouldn't error and should be false. Good. Which means I don't actually need the if statement. Which gets me just under my line length. Should probably adjust this view so that you can see exactly that ruler. Then I shouldn't have to worry about going over the edge. Now this is going to be a bit clunky, but I do want to do this for each, so that it only triggers if they're trying to use it. So our warning will be no, don't apologize. Supported on PowerShell 7.1.0 and above. Your will be ignored. So we'll write a warning to that effect. Which should do the trick. BurntToast force. So if we try running that again in Windows PowerShell, we get a warning and we get our toast. Cool. And if we try that in PowerShell 7, 7.1 preview, no error, no warning, and if we click it, we get the warning saying it was activated, which means our event was 1 registered, 2 it fired. Final test. Is PowerShell 7.0 whatever it is at the moment, which we should get a warning. We get our notification. If I click it, no warning gets output saying it was activated because the event wasn't registered. So that is working. So I am. Wait, what are they? What? Oh, of course. So I'm going to commit the submit BT stuff. Added. Right. So for the new BurntToast notification function, I want to use aliases to 2 slightly different versions of the function. So that these are only presented to, they're only presented to the user if they are supplied. So this specific idea I got from Dave Carroll, who uses it for a function in one of his modules where he's using different internal features based on the version, basically whether it's Windows PowerShell or PowerShell Core. And it should work here. I wish I could just put in a parameter thing that says, hey, hide this, or what. So there is a hide option which hides it from IntelliSense, but that's not selective about when it hides, which isn't too great. So what I'm going to do is I'll close that and I'm going to move it into private. So I'll move it into private. No, that's the wrong one. I will move new BurntToast notification . There, good. I'll move new BurntToast notification into private. There we go. And we'll call this one I've got to stop getting hung up on names. Events, and we will copy and paste, and we'll call the copy no events. So the no events version, we go down here, we rip that out. We go all the way down here, and we rip that out. We go in here and make sure I ripped out only what I actually wanted to. Of course, that's not going to tell me what I want right now. Okay. Custom timestamp was the bottom one. Custom timestamp. Good. Sorry, I had a moment there, like a did I leave the oven on moment, where I needed to just double check that I hadn't accidentally gotten rid of the one of the parameters that I was meant to leave. Okay. So then we need to choose which one to present to the user. And we will do that in our PSM1 file. Where we will repeat, I should have just left all this stuff open, shouldn't I? Where we will repeat this. In fact, if we're doing this anyway, grab that, pop it in there, and make it a module-wide variable. That will mean in here. So, sorry, I grabbed that comparison, or the test to make sure that actionable events are supported. And I grabbed that from submit BT notification, put it in my PSM1 file, and made it script scoped, which in a module makes it module scoped, meaning any of my functions can use that that variable within the module. So I do use that for config stuff and the default image and all of that. But that also means I can do this. Ooh. Come on now. And I don't have to check for it within this function. Cool. Alright, so I do that there. Then if scripts are supported, and if they're not, we want a new alias. With the name new BurntToast notification, with the value of BT Toast events, which I also need to add up here. Whoop. then if actions aren't supported, we do the same thing but for no events. Which again I need to put at the top of this. Not in that file. What am I doing? Down here. Right. So we'll end up with an alias of new BurntToast notification, which points to either events or no events. Then we need to export that so that the end user can use it. So we're exporting So we export those two aliases. Funnily enough, Funnily enough, toast is an alias of new BurntToast notification. How will that work? Let's check the syntax of that. Oh, it's not that I want the... So name and value can't be collections, which would have saved me a little bit of time, but oh well. Or at least would have made things a bit cleaner. So what I'm going to do is explicitly create the aliases here for toast, pointing at the appropriate function. And in the functions themselves, I'm going to remove that alias from the config on each of those. Cool. So now we have export alias toast and BurntToast, and in our PSD1 file, it's no longer a function to export. It is now an alias, which I think that's now officially long enough to be lined up. Right, testing time. First, actually, let's check that in. Sure. Right. So if anyone's interested in actually following along with the code and poking around at what was just pushed, it's on the version 0, the v0.8 branch on the BurntToast repo. Links in the chat. So, this is PowerShell 7.0. We need a force on that. So, what we should see when I run this. Hey Brett, how's it going? So, what I should see is, one, I should have a new BurntToast notification option. Good. And that is a pain. Which means I've done something wrong. What have I done wrong? Maybe? Yeah, it is 6:18. Yeah. It is Saturday morning. So the question is, why isn't that working? And I expect the same thing here, but it should point to events. Huh. What did I do wrong here? And I'm assuming the same is for Toast. Yeah. So the aliases are being registered. Those are named correctly. And yes, in the future I'll probably do something to reduce the duplicated code between the two. Do something a bit smarter around that, but just have to make it work first. That is going to be a real pain. I have a feeling that for this idea to work, my functions that I'm aliasing to, of course they are. So the alias idea doesn't work here because the functions that I'm aliasing to have to be public. The scenario where Dave was using this, is it's a private alias on private functions, which makes sense. That's a real bugger. Oh well. It's just not going to be anywhere near as clean as what I wanted this all to be. So I'll move that back to public. We'll change its name back. We'll go all the way up here and change its name back. We'll delete the no events version. Hide my shame. In the PSM1 file, we now no longer export that. We do still want the module scoped variable there. But we don't want all of that. And in here, that's a function again. Okay. Sure. So that means in here we're going to have to pop all the way down. In fact, now that means something else as well. This can now become a scoped message, so we only have to update it once. Because then in new BurntToast, we will effectively end up doing exactly the same thing as what we've done here. Boop. It's a bit of a shame, but it'll do the job. Now, why are you complaining? I think this might just be one of those cases where VS Code's getting confused about something. Or the extension, anyway. Unless I'm legitimately not seeing something. Yes, I know it's too long. I need a second coffee before I start caring about that too much. Right. So just to make sure things are actually working, let's reload. Not seeing squiggly lines. Alright. So I guess let's run through those tests again. Oh, okay, sure. Oh. These tab colors in Terminal. This one is a lighter shade than everything else because it's got a white background and I wanted it to match. To my eye, used to dark mode in my browser, that looked activated. So I just got very confused when a terminal I thought was 7.0 registered an event. Whew. Maybe I do need a second one. Okay. That confusion aside. In fact, let's close that so I'm not confused anymore. This one should warn 7.1 and above, and it shows the toast notification, but there's no event when I click it. And that is because it is 7.0, not 7.1. Sweet. And for completeness, let's look at Windows PowerShell again. Again, get the warning because it's not 7.1. No event when I click the toast. And just to make sure, it's Windows PowerShell 5.1. Sweet. So to my eye, that's all working now. Yeah, I don't need that test stuff. I probably should write some pester tests for this stuff, shouldn't I? But I think that can wait. I'm not in the right mind space for that just yet. So just can see my Azure DevOps pipeline running at the moment. And yes, I take the toast thing a bit too far. So I had a transient error then. This is from earlier in the stream when the alias thing didn't work. Assuming all of my existing test cases pass, I am going to push this as a release because I sort of need the code readily available for a presentation in a week or two. So, hence the motivation for getting this out the door quick smart. And then the next release, of BurntToast is going to be a boring one because it's basically just going to focus on documentation. So I'll probably not stream that because it'll be a bit boring. I wish this would hurry up a little bit. I did used to do, at my old job, lunchtime streams where literally it'd just be music, no microphone, and I'd work on documentation, but I could do that in theory. It would force me to actually do the thing. Alright, so we've got check marks there. Alright, well that's going. I'll get some. So because I had that transient error a week or two ago, I do just want to follow this through and make sure it actually builds and tests fine before I go and merge it and try and do a release. So sorry, it's a little bit boring, but I want to just double check whether I have to make some more changes before doing the merge. I wonder what my code coverage is sitting at the moment. Code coverage is at... Ugh, it doesn't show on that version. It's down here. Actually, I wonder if one of these other ones showed it. No, bugger. Alright, guess we wait a little bit longer. And it sounds like kids are starting to wake up. I did close the lounge door so they didn't just barge in like normal. But unfortunately that means they're going to start getting restless because they can't watch their Saturday morning cartoons. Come on. Basically just waiting for this one to finish because it's the one that failed a while back. For no discernible reason, reran it and it worked fine, so pass. And yes, it's possible that I'm over-testing here, but normally I'm not sitting here watching either. Because I do test, compile, test, I do more tests up there. It's just testing a bunch of permutations. The main thing is different versions of the OS and also different architectures. So I've got 64-bit and 32-bit in there. I think I've got an agent running on... Cool, nothing failed in there that I could see. I think I've got an agent running on a machine with Windows 10 Home installed, because that was an issue at one point. Come on, I just want to see the number. Oh, there, it's up there. 64.3%. Okay. Need to get that dramatically higher. Anyway, it passed all the tests, which is good, so... Let's... start a pull request. Oh, of course my code coverage has gone down. I added more code and I didn't test it. That's alright. I did just realise one thing that I'm going to have to do before this actually merges. That being... changelog. Geez, I haven't kept any changelog. Yikes. Luckily, there's not a lot that's changed in this version. But because of Actionable Toast, I'm still bumping it up. So, fix, it was... So there was a fix where, and I fixed this on the previous stream, images from UNC paths weren't working. Might not look it, because it is 6:30 in the morning. But these actionable notification things are huge, and I'm very excited about them. Actionable notifications. They were exposed via... Go away problems I don't want to see right now. So we've got those. We also added the ability to force a refresh of cached images. And that was via new BT image, a ignore cache. New BT image, cool. So take those, put them in the README as well. And I'll get that README ready to go by pointing to 8.1.0. That should be all, and unfortunately pushing this is going to force the test to rerun. Let's just double check that I haven't forgotten to bump the version.
It's that.
What is that?
It's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
here.
we've bumped the version. Geez, I forgot to do a lot of setup for this version. I can't see past your head, buddy. Mm-hmm.
The door was. Mom. It's here.
Yeah, don't touch, buddy.
It's here. Dad? It's it.
Okay. So we've got change logs, release notes, version 0.8.0. We've got the module version there. Now we're good to go. Right. So rather than sitting and waiting for all of those tests to rerun, rather than sitting and waiting for those tests to rerun, because they're going to be about another 7 to 10 minutes. Yes, hello. We'll end the stream here, and in the next quarter of an hour to half an hour, there should be version 8.0 of BurntToast up on the PowerShell gallery, which linky to that is... And I believe you're more than welcome to watch the builds if you really want to. on Azure DevOps. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in this morning. I'm not entirely sure what my next stream will be on. It probably won't be BurntToast because all I'm going to be doing is documentation. And then I'll spend some time with these guys. So thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.